So, good morning everyone. So, today po we are going to talk about the changing Africa. But before we proceed po, I'd like first to introduce myself and my co-discussant. So, again, I am Amabet Nameda po from 3E and together with Malasarte Hazel, Ibarbia, Joanna May, and Rivera Regine, we are going to discuss and share some information po regarding the changing Africa with its two subtopics po, the African nations gain independence and new African nations face challenges. So next slide. So changing Africa, a transformative journey. So this presentation explores the transformative journey of Africa from the wave of independence movements to the continent's evolving role in the global economy. We will examine the key challenges and opportunities that have shaped Africa's path to development and integration. So this topic po delves into Africa's remarkable transformation over the decades, focusing on its historical, social, and economic evolution. It highlights the continent's journey from the wave of independence movements during the mid 20th century to its current role in global affairs. So, by examining the challenges po, example yung political instability, economic disparities, and opportunities, this discussion po sheds light on Africa's strides toward development and integration into the global economy. So basically po, itong presentation na to is going to be a wild ride through African history. So we are talking about how they shook off those colonial chains, the whole independence thing, and then we will see how they are kind of finding their feet in this crazy global economy, like what's working for them, what's totally not, and how they are trying to play nice with everyone else. So it's gonna be a bit of a roller coaster with some serious ups and downs, but hopefully po we will learn something along the way. So next, African nations gain independence, post-colonial era. So following World War II, a wave of independence movements swept across Africa. By the 1960s, most African nations had gained their freedom from colonial rule, so this era marked a pivotal moment in African history, ushering in a new era of self-determination. Sabi po dito, pagkatapos po ng World War II, ang mga bansang Afrika po nakaranas ng pagdagsan ng mga kilusan para sa kalayaan na nagmarka ng pagtatapos ng kolonyal na paghahari. Noong 1960s naman po, karamihan sa mga bansa ay nakamit po ang sariling pamamahala na nagpapahiwatig ng isang napakalaking pagbabago sa kasaysayan po ng Afrika. Ano kaya yung mga mahalagang nangyari po noong post-colonial era? So, isa po sa mga mahalagang nangyari ay ang nagkaroon po ng pagkamit ng kalayaan ng maraming bansa noong 1950s hanggang po sa 1970s. So, matapos po yung World War II or yung ikalawang digmaang pandaigdig, maraming bansa po sa Afrika ang nagdeklara ng kalayaan mula sa mga bansang nanako po tulad po ng United Kingdom, France, Belgium at Portugal. Halimbawa po rito yung Ghana noong 1957 po. So ito po yung unang bansa sa Sub-Saharan po sa Africa na nakalaya mula sa British rule. Isa rin dito ay yung Algeria noong 1962. Nakalaya rin po ito matapos ang matagal na digmaan laban po sa France. So yun. Nagkaroon din po ng pagbuo ng Organisasyon ng African Unity o yung tinatawag na OAU noong 1963 po. So itinatag po ito upang suportahan ang pagkakaisa ng mga bansa sa Afrika. Mas mapalakas pa po ang kalayaan at masolusyonan po ang mga isyong nagaganap or mga isyu po sa Africa po. So sa kasalukuyan po yung OAU po, kilala na po ito bilang African Union or yung AU. So yun. Nagkaroon din po ng neocolonialism at ekonomikong pagsubok po noong post-colonial era. Bagamat po nakalaya, pero kumbaga nananatili pa rin yung impluwensya po ng mga dating nanakop sa ekonomiya ng maraming bansa. So like for example nga 'di ba sa atin. So yes, nakalaya tayo sa mga nanakop sa atin, pero na-adapt pa rin natin yung mga like belief nila, ganon, yung culture, so ganon. So yan. Maraming bansa po sa Africa ang naharap kumbaga sa utang, kawalan ng trabaho at kahirapan po. So yan. Nagkaroon rin ng Cold War at proxy wars sa panahon po ng Cold War po, naging larangan ng digmaan ng ilang bansa sa Africa dahil sa tunggalian ng USA at USSR. Halimbawa po dito yung Angolan Civil War po noong 1975 to 2002 na sinusuportahan po ng USA at USSR ang magkaibang grupo. Yun. And then po, yung apartheid sa South Africa noong 1948 at 1994 sa ilalim po ng apartheid, nagkaroon po ng sistematikong diskriminasyon laban po sa mga itim na South African po. So kumbaga nagkaroon ng discrimination. Pero po natapos po ito noong 1994 then sa pagkahalal po kay Nelson Mandela po bilang unang itim na presidente ng South Africa. So kumbaga nawakasan po yung discrimination dahil po may naupong itim rin na presidente sa South Africa. So yun. Nagkaroon din po ng pag-usbong ng mga military dictatorship po. Maraming bansa ang dumaan sa pamumuno po ng mga diktador matapos ang kalayaan. Halimbawa po dito si Idi Amin ng Uganda po noong 1971 to 1979. Tapos si Mobutu Sese Seko po ng Zaire. So yun po. Ngayon ay Democratic Republic of Congo. Yun. So genocide sa Rwanda 1994 po. Nagkaroon din ng hidwaan sa pagitan ng mga Hutu at Tutsi po na nagresulta sa pagkamatay ng mahigit 800,000 katao po sa loob ng 100 or isang daang araw. So, nagkaroon din po ng paglago ng mga kilusang panlipunan at ekonomikong reforma noong post-colonial era. Maraming bansa po ang nagsimulang magpatupad na po ng mga reforma sa agriculture, education, at serbisyong pangkalusugan po upang makabangon mula sa kahirapan. So, yun po. So, ang post-colonial po, kumbaga naging yugto ng pagsubok at pag-asa para sa Africa. At till now po, patuloy ang bansa nito sa pagharap po sa mga hamon habang pinapalakas ang kanilang kalayaan at ekonomiya. So, yun. Next, diverse path to freedom. So, the path to independence varied across the continent. Some countries achieved independence peacefully while others experienced violent struggles against colonial powers. The legacy of colonialism continues to influence African societies today. The independence journey po was not uniform across Africa. Yung ibang nation po such as Ghana attained independence through peaceful negotiation, while yung others naman po like Algeria and Angola endured prolonged and violent struggles against colonial powers. So these diverse experiences have left lasting impacts on African societies, shaping governance, inter-ethnic relations, and economic systems. The ongoing influence of colonial legacies highlights the need for continued efforts toward unity, stability, and sustainable development. So, sabi po dito, ang paglalakbay tungo sa kalayaan sa Africa, kumbaga hindi pare-pareho sa bawat bansa, na naging resulta sa iba't ibang epekto sa kanilang lipunan. Una dito yung mapayapang kalayaan. So, ang ilan po tulad ng Ghana, nakuha nila ang kanilang kalayaan sa pamamagitan ng negosasyon sa kanilang kolonyal na tagapamahala na nagdulot ng mas maayos na paglipat sa sariling pamahalaan. So dahil dito, mas kaunti ang naging pinsala sa infrastructure at mas mabilis po ang pagsisimula ng ekonomiya. Pangalawa, marahas na pakikibaka. Sa kabilang banda po, ang mga bansa tulad ng Algeria at Angola ay dumaan sa matagal at madugong digmaan laban sa kanilang mga kolonyalista. Ang mga labanang ito ay nagdulot ng pagkamatay ng maraming tao, pagkawasak ng ekonomiya at malalim na sugat sa lipunan. Pangatlo naman ang impluwensya ng kolonyalismo. Ngayon, ang mga hamon na iniwan ng kolonyalismo tulad ng hindi pantay na yaman, korupsyon at hidwaang etniko ay nananatiling balakid po sa pag-unlad ng Afrika. Panglima, patuloy na pagkilos. Patuloy ang mga pagsisikap para sa pagkakaisa ng mga bansa sa Afrika, pagpapatatag ng pamahalaan, paglikha ng ekonomiyang makakabuti para sa lahat or sa lahat. Ang mga aral mula sa kasaysayan ay nagiging gabay po para sa mas matatag at mas maunlad na kontinente.
Good day everyone, I'm Regine Rivera from 3E. Now, I will tackle the challenges faced by new African nations in economic development and industrialization. So here's the challenges faced by new African nations. First is economic development. So newly independent African nations face significant challenges in building their economies. Many inherited weak infrastructure, limited industrial capacity, and a lack of skilled labor. Alright, so newly independent African nations struggled with weak infrastructure, limited industries, and the lack of skilled labor stemming from colonial systems focused on resource extractions. They relied heavily on single commodities, faced political instability, and had underdeveloped education and healthcare systems, all of which hindered sustainable economic growth. For example, Congo faced economic instability after independence because it relied heavily on mining but lacked the local expertise to manage it, leading to economic stagnation. So second is political instability. Political instability was a major obstacle to development. Many countries experience caused civil wars and ethnic conflicts, which is undermined governance and economic progress. Okay, so political instability hindered development in many African nations through coups, civil wars, and ethnic conflicts, disrupting governance and progress. For instance, Nigeria faced multiple coups after independence, exacerbating ethnic tensions and slowing economic growth. Third is social and economic inequality. So, deep-seated social and economic inequalities persisted in many African nations. Colonial legacies of exploitation and discrimination contributed to disparities in wealth, education, and access to resources. So, social and economic inequalities in African nations stem from colonial systems that favored elites and marginalized the majority. For example, in South Africa, apartheid policies entrenched racial disparities and land ownership, education, and economic opportunities, leaving lasting effects on development. Okay, so that the challenges faced by new African nations. So at this moment, we come now to economic development and industrialization. So first is economic diversification. African nations have sought to diversify their economies beyond primary commodities like agriculture and mining. Efforts to promote manufacturing, tourism, and technology have gained momentum in recent years. So, economic diversification daw in Africa aims to reduce reliance on commodities like agriculture and mining by expanding into sectors like manufacturing, tourism, and technology. For example, Wanda has developed a thriving tech industry, branding itself as a hub for innovation in Africa. So, second is infrastructure investment. Alright, infrastructure investment drives economic growth by improving connectivity and services. For example, Kenya's standard gauge railway has enhanced trade and reduced travel times, boosting regional commerce and development. So last is the private sector growth. So the private sector plays a vital role in driving economic development. Policies aimed at fostering entrepreneurship, attracting foreign investment, and creating a favorable business environment are essential. So, for example, Nigeria's fintech industry has thrived due to the supportive policies, attracting foreign investors and creating jobs. So, ang mga bagong bansang Aprikano daw po ay humarap sa matinding hamon sa pagtatag ng matatag na ekonomiya at pagsulong ng industrialisasyon dahil sa pamana ng kolonyalismo, mahinang infrastruktura at pampulitikang kawalang estabilidad. Ang pagharap sa mga hamong ito ay nangangailangan ng estratehikong pamumuhunan, diversifikasyon at mabuting pamamahala upang maisulong ang pangmatagalang paglago at pag-unlad. So that's all my part po. Maraming salamat sa pakikinig.
So, good day po. I'm Hazel Malsarte. So, today I'll discuss about the social reforms and nation building. So, first, education and health. Investing in human capital through education and healthcare is fundamental for national development. Efforts to expand access to quality education and healthcare are underway across the continent. So this statement emphasizes that education and healthcare are essential components of the nation development. By improving education and healthcare system, a country can build its human capital, which refers to the skills, knowledge, and health of its population. This leads to economic growth, social progress, and better living standard. So sa education po, quality education equips individual with knowledge and skills to participate effectively in workforce, innovate, and contribute to societal development. And uneducated population and is more likely to understand civic responsibilities, reduce poverty, and address social challenges. Then sa healthcare po, good health ensure that people can work, attend school, and be productive members of a society. Access to healthcare reduces mortality rates, prevent diseases, and improves the overall quality of life. So both sectors are interconnected. For example po, educated individuals are more likely to understand the importance of hygiene and preventive healthcare, while healthy children are more likely to succeed in school. Then the peace building and conflict resolution. Addressing conflict and promoting peaceful coexistence is vital for long-term development efforts to resolve conflicts. Strengthen governance and foster national unity are essential. So conflict disrupts social and economic progress. Addressing conflict through dialogue, governance reforms, and reconciliation progress is essential for peace and nation building. Promoting peaceful existence foster national unity and long-term stability. So for example po, South Sudan Peace Agreement. South Sudan has worked on peace agreement to end prolonged civil conflict with initiatives to disarm group and foster national dialogue. Then the social inclusion and empowerment. So promoting social inclusion and empowerment marginalized group is crucial for building strong and cohesive societies programs. Targeting gender equality, youth development, and minority rights are essential. So promoting social inclusion ensure that All individuals, regardless of their bodyguard, can participate in societal development, empowering marginalized groups such as women, youth, and minorities, create stronger and more cohesive societies by reducing inequalities and fostering equal opportunities. So each of these areas, education and health, social inclusion and peace building, by addressing these pillars, nation can create stable, equitable and prosperous societies. So then we come now to democratization and political stability. So number one, the transition to democracy has been a long and complex process in many African countries. Challenges include building strong institutions, ensuring free and fair elections, and promoting respect for human rights. So the transition to democracy in many African countries has been a challenging and gradual process due to historical, political, and social factors. So unlike more stable democratic system, many African nations had to navigate unique challenges while moving away from colonial rule, military regimes, and authoritarian governments. Then the political stability is essential to sustainable development. Good governance, rule of law, and accountable leadership are crucial for fostering economic growth and social progress. So political stability provides a secure and predictable environment where the institution can function effectively, investment can thrive, and citizens can live peacefully. Without stability, a nation faces issues such as corruption, unrest, and lack of trust in government, of all which hinder sustainable development. And the last is the African Union and regional organizations have played a role in promoting democracy, peace, and stability across the continent. Efforts to address conflicts, strengthen governance, and promote human rights are ongoing. So the African Union and regional organizations are vital to African stability and progress. While challenges like persistent conflicts and governance issues remain, their efforts have been instrumental in resolving disputes, supporting democratic transition, and advocating for human rights across the continent. So that's all for my part.
Hello everyone, I am Joanna May Ibarbia. So now I will discuss about the rise of Pan-Africanism and regional integration, and then the Africa's emerging role in the global economy. Next is the Africa's emerging role in the global economy. With a population of over 1 billion people, Africa represents a significant market for goods and services. The continent's young and growing population present both opportunities and challenges for economic development. And Africa is poised to play an increasingly significant role in the global economy. With a burgeoning population of over 1 billion people, so the continent boasts a young full demographic that present a massive potential workforce. So this demographic dividend, coupled with the abundant natural resources, a growing middle class, and a burgeoning entrepreneurial spirit, can drive significant economic growth. So the key sector like the agriculture, technology, and the renewable energy are experiencing rapid expansion, attracting foreign investment and fostering innovation. While challenges such as this infrastructure deficit, political instability, and climate change persist, Africa's economic potential is uninnu- unknowable, making it is a crucial player in the 21st century global landscape. Then the second is the 1T or the GDP. So the Africa's GDP is projected to reach $1 trillion by 2030. So the continent's economic growth is being driven by factors such as urbanization, increased investment, and technological innovation. So the Africa is experiencing a period of significant economic growth with many countries demonstrating impressive GDP figures. So this growth is driven by factors like a young and expanding workforce, abundant natural resources, and increasing foreign investment. So the key sector like the agriculture, mining, and the telecommunication are contributing significantly to economic expansion, while the challenges like poverty and infrastructure deficit remain. So Africa's growing economic influence on the global stage is undeniable. So take note, the 1T or the GDP likely refers to the concept of a $1 trillion economy, while some individual African countries may have GDPs exceeding $1 trillion. So the continent as a whole is still working towards achieving a combined GDP exceeding that threshold. So the Africa is experiencing a rise of its middle class estimated to exceed 100 million individuals. So this growing consumer base is driving domestic demand, fueling economic growth, and creating new market opportunities for both local and international businesses. So the growing middle class is increasingly sophisticated with higher disposable incomes and a desire for quality goods and services including education, healthcare, and technology. So this expanding consumer market represents significant potential for economic development and diversification across the African continent. So take note that the exact size of Africa's middle class is a subject of ongoing debate and varies depending on the definition and methodology used. So the first is the Pan-Africanism. So the Pan-Africanism is a movement that advocates for the unity and solidarity of all people of African descent. It has played a significant role in shaping African political thought, culture, and identity. And it seeks to foster cooperation and integration among African countries, aiming for political, economic, and social emancipation, rooted in the struggle against slavery and colonialism, Pan-Africanism advocates for the decolonialization of minds, the reclamation of African history and culture, and creation of a united and prosperous Africa. Next is the regional integration. So, the regional integration has been a key strategy for promoting economic growth, political cooperation, and social development across Africa. So, the regional economic communities have been established to foster trade, infrastructure development, and cooperation on shared challenges. So, the regional integration in Africa, refers to the process of bringing together different countries within the continent to cooperate and integrate their economics, policies, social programs. So, this involves creating closer ties between African nations through various mechanisms such as free trade agreements, common market, and then the political unions. So the goal is to enhance economic growth, reduce dependence on external aid, and collectively address shared challenges like poverty, disease, and conflict. So, sa economic cooperation, meron naman ditong free trade. So, under the free trade is to reduce or to eliminating trade barriers between member countries to facilitate the free flow of the good and then the services. So, when we say naman common market, it is establishing a single market with common rules and regulation for trade, investment, and movement of people. So, while custom union naman, it is a harmonizing external traffic and trade policies. Then, the next is the African Union. So, the African Union or the AU is the continent's leading political and economic organization. And the AU promote peace, security, and development and work to address common challenges such as the climate change, poverty, and then the disease. So that's all. Thank you for listening.